Welcome to EPG Pathshala. This is Dr. Ankush Ambardar from Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. Today, I'll be taking up a topic from the subject Tourism and Hospitality, Front Office Operations and Management. And the topic is Yield Management and Forecasting. Well, after completing this unit, the students will be able to understand the concept of yield management, measurement of yield, yield management softwares, and forecasting. Well, yield management can be defined as a process through which the hotel room sales and revenue is increased. It includes various techniques of revenue management. Yield management or revenue management is the process by which sales of a limited quantity of goods such as hotel rooms, airline seats, apartment leasing, rental cars or etc. are managed in order to maximize profits. Successful yield management focuses on selling the product in such a manner that is timely, price competitive, and directed towards the right subset of customers. It is a set of techniques and procedures used to manipulate occupancy ratio in order to maximize the hotel's revenue. It is also an evaluative tool that allows the room division manager to use potential revenue as the standard against which actual revenue can be compared. It works as a tool for revenue managers and front office on how to increase the revenue for a given number of rooms for a given period of time. The word yield means to produce or give forth an output or return, and the term yield management means output management. Making the very best use of product is yield management. Yield management is applicable to service industry or any industry where the product's perishability is very high. For example, a bedroom which is not sold on a particular day cannot be stored for future use. Hence, the process of knowing how many bookings to take at what rate, rack rate or discounted rate, for how many days so that the maximum number of rooms are sold and maximum possible revenue is generated for that period is called yield management. Now, concept of yield management. Yield management aims to maximize revenue by adjusting prices of commodity to suit market demand. Yield management is based on supply and demand. The hotel aim should be high profit business rather than high volume business. It is a set of demand forecasting techniques used to determine whether prices should be decreased or increased and whether a reservation request should be accepted or rejected with an aim to achieve maximum revenue. Yield management combines occupancy percentage and ADR, average daily rate, into single statistics. Factors other than high season, off season, such as duration and type of accommodation used by guest, control and market segment pricing, etc., are also important in yield management. Hotel chains and yield management. Yield is the statistical information that gives information about the general performance of the hotel and is the product of the occupancy of the hotel on a particular date and the average daily rate. Many hotels rate their success by their occupancy levels, but this isn't necessarily the best measure of success. Yield management strategy is increasingly used by most of the hotel operators and is a process of maximizing the revenue of a property by increasing the room rates during the periods of high occupancy and decreasing the room rates during the periods of low occupancy. Another way to rate a hotel's performance is by determining its RevPAR or revenue per available room. RevPAR is calculated by dividing the total room revenue by the total number of rooms. For example, a hotel that makes $6,000 one night with a total number of 100 rooms has a RevPAR of $60. The revenue manager's job is to maximize the revenue per available room by selling rooms to the right customers at the right price at the right time. How does the yield manager accomplish this somewhat nebulous task? Successful yield management arises from several factors: an understanding of what the hotel hopes to achieve, whether that is room occupancy, RevPAR, or some other measurement, a clear understanding of what kind of hotel the manager is working with, which leads to an understanding of what a customer visiting the hotel wants in his or her hotel experience and why customers choose their hotels over another hotel, an ability to measure group sales against the overall goals of the hotel. For example, a hotel whose main goal is occupancy will be happy to host a large group at a lower rate, but a hotel whose main goal is revenue may turn down a larger group in favor of smaller groups who can pay a higher rate and a knowledge of what will cause the market to fluctuate, such as holidays, regular religion, and local events, etc. The yield manager will ideally consider all these factors when creating different rates for hotel guests. Now, understanding revenue management in detail. The first step in this process is now guest behavior, which can be beneficial for the hotel. To see the potential guests booking their rooms in the hotel as compared competitor hotels at a better price. Though this can be conjure the relationship between pricing and booking pace and that of the hotel's competitors is easily measured and elucidates the same set of behaviors. Selling a room to a guest at the right place to both maximize occupancy and the revenue it generates is impossible without first considering what will prompt a consumer to make the purchase. It is very easy to understand the consumer's buying habits if you are able to collect a property's purchasing data, analyze it, and then read and interrupt the data in real time. This is easier said than done, but very possible if one has the right system in place. Anticipating. Once an understanding of consumer behavior is gleaned, both in a general sense and specific to the property and the property's competitors, then management can begin to anticipate that consumer behavior. This is where the real challenge or revenue management emerges. Being an accurate with this anticipation as possible through forecasting, modeling, and exhaustive research, only when consumer behavior is at least partially anticipated can a hotel hope to sell and distribute their room inventory effectively, which is how revenue management leads to higher revenues and profitability. Once all data is collected and analyzed, a pattern will begin to form. This pattern will constantly change and evolve just like any market. The key is to have a system in place with artificial intelligence that can understand and adapt to these changes in real time. Influencing. Another critical part of revenue management is to influence customer behavior. When a hotel can anticipate a consumer's decision, then the next logical step is to know that decision in a direction that is helpful for hotel. In terms of selling rooms, exerting influence is largely a function of presentation and sales channel distribution in an effort to display a room to a customer at the price most likely to incite them to buy, while simultaneously being the price that earns the most revenue for the hotel in that situation. The process of influencing consumer behavior is the capstone of revenue management. It is supported by understanding and anticipating consumer behavior, but in the end, it is all the only visible result of revenue management strategy. Once you have collected and analyzed all of the data, it will be simple to implement the findings into your revenue management processes. By doing so, it will provide you with a huge competitive advantage in the market, thus helping you capture a bigger share of the market. While executing the technical part of revenue management, it's important for success of any revenue management strategy, the modifications of prices as per the demand and competition is the need of hour, and to effectively manage inventory and sales channel distribution. So remember, understand, anticipate, and influence. These are the fundamentals of revenue management and the keys to a hotel's financial success. Optimal occupancy and optimal rate. Achieving the best yield involves redefining the use of occupancy percentage and average daily rate. Although these concepts are important to the long-range potential financial picture, they take on a new meaning with yield management. Optimal occupancy, achieving 100% occupancy with room sales, which will yield the highest room rate, and optimal room rate, a room rate that approaches the rack rate, work together to produce the yield. The following scenario illustrates the harmony that must be achieved to maximize yield. A 300-room hotel has sold 100 rooms at $76, 150 rooms at $84, and 35 rooms at $95. The yield for this combination is 83%. If yield management were in use and the daily report revealed 200 rooms sold at $90 and 85 rooms at $95, a 91% yield could have been realized. Not only could an additional 8 percentage points have been achieved, but an additional $2,550 could have been earned. In both situations, an occupancy of 95% was achieved, but the average daily rate in the first case was $82.54, while the optimum room rate in the second case was $91.49. The $91.49 optimal room rate would closely approach the 95 rack rate. Measuring yield. The yield statistic is the ratio of the actual revenue generated by the number of rooms sold to potential revenue, the amount of money that would be received from the sales of rooms in the hotel at a rack rate. So let's discuss some formulas. Formula 1, potential average single rate. So potential average single rate is equal to single room revenues at rack rate divided by number of rooms sold as single. Potential average double rate. So potential average double rate is equal to double room revenue at rack rate divided by number of rooms sold as double. Now, elements of yield management. So while developing a successful yield strategy, the following elements are very important. Group room sales, transit FIT room sales. Now, when it comes to group room sales, group booking data, it determines whether the group blocks already recorded in the reservation file should be modified or not, and adjusts expectations by reviewing the group's booking history. Group booking pace watches out for the rate at which group business is being booked. Consider the historical trends. Anticipated group business. So watches out for competitive group patterns and act accordingly in order to forecast the pressure on the market and hence adjust selling strategies. Group booking lead time. So it measures how far in advance of a stay booking are made. This is very important in determining whether to accept an additional group and at what room rate to book the new group, displacement or transit business. So it occurs when a hotel accepts group business at the expense of transit guests. This might engender profitability problems and bad reputation. Transit room sales. The front office management shall monitor the booking pace and lead time of transit guests in order to understand how current reservation compares with historical and anticipated rates. Forecasting, which is one of the important concepts for yield management. An important feature of yield management forecasting, room sales in the hotel. Orkin suggests using a daily decision orientation rather than a seasonal decision-making scheme in developing a particular strategy. Accurate forecasting of transit demand will assist hoteliers in developing strategies to maximize sales accordingly. For example, if a hotel has a group business reservation for 95% of available rooms seeking transit business, if the period following the group business is low, then advanced knowledge of this information will allow time for marketing and sales to develop special promotional packages aimed at the transit and local markets. The success of business nowadays depends on the forecasting strategies adopted by hotel management from time to time. Now, blockout periods. The strategy just discussed for high demand periods require front office managers to block out certain days when potential guests who seek reservations must commit to a minimum length of stay. If a guest requests a reservation for October 25, but that date falls in a blockout period of September 24, 25 and 26, the reservation agent will have to refuse the request. If the guest is willing to commit to all 3 days, then the reservation can be processed. This process of establishing blockout periods will allow a hotel to develop standardized reservation operating procedures for a 24-hour day reservation system. Now, forecasting of these time periods is an essential feature of yield management. Now, systems and procedures. Orkin suggests that a front office manager who implements yield management use an automated system that will process reservations, track demand, and block out room availability during certain time periods. The details of operating a reservation system for a 500-room hotel on a 365-day basis that uses yield management would be overwhelming if left to manual calculations. He also advises initiating specific rate setting policies that will ensure profitability. Establishing blockout periods will allow and require an ongoing marketing effort by the hotel to ensure sales in projected low demand periods. He also urged front office managers to develop a well-trained staff who will understand and use yield management procedures. Now, using yield management. Number one, high demand potential techniques. Now, hotels try to define the market segments in order to sell out the rooms at best possible rates. Monitor new corporates coming up. Consider establishing a minimum number of nights per stay in the hotel. Second, low demand potential techniques. Design a flexible rate system for sales force. Strive to accurately project expected market mix. Management shall closely monitor group bookings and trends in transit business. As low occupancy periods become inevitable, open lower rate categories, solicit price sensitive groups, promote corporate, government, and other special discounts, and develop new rate packages. So, one needs to consider maintaining high room rates for walk-in guests. In order to implement these tactics, management needs to establish the hurdle rate, the lowest rate for a given day, below which it is impossible to sell any room. Now, forecasting. A forecast means to say what will probably happen in future. Hence, it is the prediction of future happenings based on analysis of data available. It is the process of predicting or estimating the future business of a particular hotel company. Benefits of forecasting. It helps in projecting future business of rooms and revenue hotel can generate from room sales in time to come. It will help the management to plan manpower. It will facilitate inventory management of other departments too. Allocation of resources to provide best customer service. It helps reservation manager to take selective overbookings based on reservation forecasts. Now, information required for room forecasting. The front office manager, through their knowledge and experience, defined following as necessary for accurate forecasting. Thorough knowledge of rooms and rates, a perfect judgment of what can happen in future. Profile of target market hotel can cover percent of no-shows, percent of overbookings, future plans of renovations of rooms in the hotel, cancellation statistics. So this all needs to be kept in mind. Now, records required for room forecasting availability. The forecasting of room availability requires a lot of efforts from reservation managers in hotels. It requires the information about the past trends also. The number of check-in or each day and during same period, walk-in guests, number of understays, number of overstays, number of departures, no-shows, cancellations. Percentage of walk-ins. The percentage of walk-in guests is calculated by dividing total number of walk-in guests with total number of arrivals and multiplying by 100. Higher the percentage of walk-in guests, it makes difficult for the hotel to forecast the room availability. Percentage of no-shows. If a guest with confirmed reservation doesn't turn up in the hotel on the date of arrival, that is called as no-show. The percentage of no-show helps the front office manager to early release of guest rooms. It is calculated by dividing total number of no-shows on a specific day by total number of bookings made on the same day and multiplying it by 100. Percentage of overstay. The guests who stay more and extend their stay of departure are called as overstay guests. It results in making the room availability low for that period. This kind of condition hotels expect in the lean season, or hotels running on low occupancy can favor the guests by extending their stay also. Now, forecasting helps in making strategies for revenue management for the hotels, and nowadays hotels are focusing a lot on the revenue management and also customer satisfaction. Now, yield management, prospects in future. Revenue management. Chain hotels will move to one-to-one revenue management systems, and each market will be a market segment in itself. Technology will also play an important role in measuring customer value based on historical and present trends. Customer value systems. The main focus will be on revenue per available guest and calculating customer value, which will in turn help hotels in retaining the guests. Hotels will focus to use their functions and banquet spaces in also as a part of yield and forecasting. The goals and aims of entire staff will be aligned in order to achieve maximum profit and a systematic revenue management system to be implemented. Try to define the right mix of market segments in order to sell out the highest possible room rates. Monitor new business bookings and use these changed conditions to reassign room inventory as occupancy increases. Consider closing out low room rates and open them only when demand increases. So consider establishing a minimum number of nights per stay. Now, to summarize the unit, the yield management is even termed as revenue management or output management. Any hotel organization looking for profit will have to develop and adopt various yield management strategies in its different operations, and front office is not an exception. Yield management is applicable to service industry or any industry where the product's perishability is very high. Hotels can use strategy like forecasting and employee experience to reap benefits from uncertain and competitive markets. Yield management strategy is increasingly used by most of the hotel operators and is a process of maximizing the revenue of a property by increasing the room rates during the periods of high occupancy and decreasing the room rates during the period of low occupancy. The decisions taken at times have to be focused on meeting objectives of the department. The occupancy and the average room revenue has to be considered for reaping profits even in lean seasons. Thank you for watching EPG Pathshala. This was Dr. Ankush Ambardar from Kurukshetra University.